Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Divine Empowerment. My name is Joanne. I want to thank everyone who's subscribed, liked, commented, shared the videos. Much love, much gratitude. I really hope you guys enjoy the sunset today. So yes, I will be doing past life regression readings today for all of those that have sent me an email requesting one. Now, before I get started today, we're going to talk about past life regression with soul realignment. Well, soul realignment has 3 different levels of type of blocks based on their density. It's not a linear progression, like you don't do level 1, level 2, level 3, and then you're done. No. Each level represents a density in the energetic block that it pertains to, which I am a little nervous about the camera being out there and me being in here, but hopefully the wind won't knock it over into the water and dissonance. Okay, so now in level 1, it is truly so powerful. Now, of course, I have many clients and myself as well that have cleared many level 1 blocks, okay? Now, level 1 is always about past life. And of course, all of our past lives are recorded energetically in the Akashic records. This is where the past life regression is done from the perspective of your higher self down to the physical level. Now, level 2, we get into blocks that are created in your mental body, which are held at the 4th dimension. Some of these blocks could include or will include beliefs, cords, illusions, imprints that we have adopted to help us make sense of our reality. Sometimes they serve us, and sometimes they need to be cleared. Now, in level 3, these are the densest blocks, and they're at the 3rd dimensional physical level. They include unconscious negative patterns, which are huge because even if we try to clear them, because they're outside of our conscious mind, it's so like we are completely unaware of their existence. However, they play a huge impact on our realities. And then we also covered things like environmental energy blocks, DSB code corruptions, which is how the physical experience is created through these DSB codes. Think of them similar to software or to computer codes, right? You turn on your computer, you open the software, and it does what it's supposed to do. Well, the DSB codes are very similar to the codes that create software. But of course, these are energetic codes, and of course, they're much more quantum they're much more quantum theoretically, because think about it, if everything in our reality requires DSB codes, I mean, you can only imagine the extent of coding work. Now, also too, in Soul Realignment, with every session, we do a full Reiki adjustment. Now, I am also a Reiki master. And what I found whenever I was practicing just Reiki, I found that it became kind of like a Band-Aid, right? So someone would come in, they'd get an adjustment, and then by the next week or a couple of weeks later, they had already blown out their chakras and they were right back in the same state of being. But through Soul Realignment, I find that after just a few sessions of Soul Realignment Reiki adjustments, now these are included with the Soul Realignment reading and clearings level 1, level 2, and level 3. So it's not something that it's not a separate purchase. But what I've discovered is that I find these are no longer necessary after a few sessions because they're that powerful. It's almost like your chakra system becomes fully aligned, and definitely some huge shifts take place there. Now remember, the levels are not linear. This isn't something that you do level 1, level 2, level 3, and oh, you're done. No. We can only clear what you can comfortably shift at the physical level. Now, what determines what is cleared? Well, it's based on your current intentions, your current manifestations. And remember, manifestation requires linear gestational periods. Now, for those of you that know, okay, so I have actually created my own results through this modality. It took linear time. You know, whenever I manifested my twin flame, my dream partner, it took about 4 to 6 months before he actually showed up. But in the meantime, I was constantly taking new action, getting slightly outside my comfort zone until I became a vibrational match for that experience. Now, level 1 in Soul Realignment is past life regression that provides a multi-dimensional quantum healing experience that will shift you vibrationally, not only at the level of your higher self, which means more consciousness, more awareness, but also at the physical level. Huge quantum healing when we heal our God spark and we become in alignment with our divine self-expression. Now, I actually started my Akashic training back in 1995. And at that time, I was deep in soul contracts and rewriting soul contracts and writing soul contracts. Now, after a couple of decades, I actually became an Akashic master through Soul Realignment. So I found that Soul Realignment definitely brought all things together in a grounded, practical, effortless, powerful way. Now, also too, I am reinventive in my manifestation blueprint. Now, we all have our own unique manifestation blueprint, and we all have our own unique divine soul blueprint. Now, I am reinventive. So it was definitely, okay, so I don't invent the wheel. I make the wheel stronger, faster, and more efficient, more powerful. With Soul Realignment, I have not only changed my own life and created my own results, but I have actually helped countless others change their own lives and create their own results. Now, of course, everyone is different. And some it took only one or a few sessions, while others it is taking many sessions, like myself. It took me linear time and many sessions. And I still do this work periodically for myself, not as often as I did in the beginning, but every now and then, yes, it definitely comes into my awareness that, but also too, you will, with this reading and clearing work through Soul Realignment, you will intuitively start to feel when you reach energetic blocks in your Akashic records, which is super, super powerful. I mean, literally, I can wake up one day and go, oh, yep, I feel it. It's time for a clearing. It's time for a session for myself. And it is so, so healing, so, so powerful. And I just find that you start to intuitively act on your own guidance, which is beautiful. Okay, so now today's session is all about past life regressions. Now, I want to thank everyone who sent an email and gave me permission to access your Akashic records on your behalf. Now, of course, no clearing work was done as a result. However, I do find that just bringing it into our awareness will shift us at some level. Now, I'm not going to be using real names. For some of you, you did provide me a nickname. And for the others, I will be using your initials. Okay, now, I'm not doing these in any specific order, which of course I channeled through automatic writing. So of course I channeled all of these messages. I contact your higher self within the Akashic records, and then depending on the higher self is how the story is delivered. Some are long, some are short. It depends on the higher self perspective. Okay, so number 1. The initials are PLR. Now, all of these are based on your current intentions, what you're wanting to experience. Now, this actually occurred 3 lifetimes ago, so it wasn't a great long time ago. So now I'm going to get into the past life regression. In this lifetime, you were born in the United States, and it was a very hard time during the American Civil War. You were actually a slave smuggler, and it was extremely dangerous. You helped hundreds of slaves escape to the north from the south. You grew quite an amazing reputation for success. I mean, you were highly successful at this until you became the target of the largest headhunting group in the South. In other words, you hit their radar. You were relentless, obsessed in your efforts to free slaves. You continued your work regardless of the risk. Then, on your very last mission, there were fires started in the South to burn the brush so the soldiers could set up spots for escapees. You were trapped for days, and the smoke and the heat were unbearable. There was a pregnant slave that was with you, and she went into labor while you were trapped. You had actually dug out a small cave in the earth, but the screams were heard from the labor. You delivered a baby boy, but the mother was too weak to move. You knew it was a matter of time before the soldiers found your hiding spot. You wrapped the baby in as much fabric as possible. The other slaves stayed behind to create a distraction. You ran as fast as you could through the burning brush. You made it just to the other side, and you were able to give the baby to some friendly soldiers from the north. But you passed away within hours from the extensive burns and smoke fume damage. All right, so yes, usually these past life regressions, they involve some sort of tragedy, some sort of intense energy that creates these energetic blocks. Now, you may still tend to attract that need to be saved person, or you may actually feel the need to be saved by others. I think that was all the guidance for you. Thank you so much. Okay, so the next past life regression is LLG, and this actually occurred during the age of discovery. It was 11 lifetimes ago. So yes, it was quite a bit of ways ago. In this lifetime, you were born in a small village located in Italy. Your family owned a vineyard, and you spent your childhood running through the fields. It was a happy childhood, and unlike most families, you need to turn on some light. I hope everyone's enjoying the beautiful sunset. Unlike, let's see, where am I? Okay. Okay. It was a happy childhood. And unlike most families during this period of time, you were an only child, which was very, very uncommon. The village was very small populated. As you grew into your teen years, you had many suitors because of your beauty, intellect, and your family's vineyard, which would become yours and your husband's. Well, it would actually become your husband's property during this time. When your parents passed away, it was the most substantial property in the area. Nonetheless, you were not interested in any of the calling suitors. You wanted to travel and explore the world a bit before settling down. You wrote to an older cousin who lived in France and begged to go and visit, at least for a season. Your parents refused to allow you to travel alone. So on your 16th birthday, you ran away from home. You hitchhiked a ride with some traveling merchants. It was a hard journey and took many, many months before you reached Paris, France. Now, you were unable to contact your cousin because obviously you didn't want your cousin to contact your family and hence be discovered. So you took a job as an Italian language tutor. Your mother was French, so you spoke fluently in both languages. Nonetheless, however, you were extremely naive and started to borrow money in advance on your paychecks. The next thing you knew, you were head over heels in debt, and not only with not with the friendly types. You wrote home and explained your situation, but your parents left you to reap your own consequences. You were imprisoned for your debt and sold off as a slave. Now, you may still struggle with the weight of debt, financial debt, and lack, even though you have karmic riches. It's almost this heavy burden that you carry. Next is work towards your passion and set goals that are not grounded in the should energy. I should pay off my debt, right? You would definitely want to maybe check out my recent video on how to set intentions from the soul. Okay, so the next past life regression. It's for Lizzie. That's a nickname. In this lifetime, you were born in a musical family. I don't know why I want to say musical family. Everyone sang and played instruments. Your family was very wealthy, generational wealth. So no one really worked for a living. There was always a party or an event taking place on your estate. There was excessive overindulgence, which was not of the normal type. Now you played the harp and you sang like an angel. People would travel great distances to hear you sing and play which your brothers and sisters became quite envious and jealous, especially your oldest sister. She was constantly breaking your hearts right before your performances. Even though she was in her late teens, she had several drug addictions. And I mean the serious kind of drugs. When you told your father, he became furious and had her locked in her room where where she went immediately into drug withdrawal. He gave you the responsibility of bringing her meals. You felt so sorry for her that you begged your father's forgiveness. You told him that you lied and made the whole thing up. Your father immediately released her and put you in her place. She then would bring you your meals, and she was so grateful. You bonded with her as a result. You spent 30 days in solitude, and after that you both sang and played songs together. Now you may still feel her missing presence as a sisterly bond. She is with you, always in spirit, but you may feel a longing to have that connection in the physical. Awesome. Okay, so the next one, the nickname is Dual. In this lifetime, I'm sorry, I didn't say how many lifetimes ago that was. All right, Lizzie, yours was 4 lifetimes ago. And Dual's was actually 404 lifetimes ago. Now that's lifetimes. That's not years. Okay, so this was a long, long time ago. In this lifetime, you were born in an Indian tribe who were warriors and carnivores. You were the warring and conquering type and would hunt and kill the nomadic tribes. Regular hunting did not appeal to your tribe members, and you had a superiority complex as head of the food chain. You were fierce and terrifying looking. Now they kept trophies. Now, human teeth necklaces, coats made of human pelts, right? However, you were raised this way and thought it was the normal way to be. And you trained vigorously from the time you could walk. But for some reason, specifically you, had no idea that they were actually eating and hunting other human beings. Regardless of the trophies, right? You just did not make that connection. In your mind, you thought the meat came as spoils to your tribe's victory. Almost like you stole the meat from the nomadic tribes. Once you turned 12, there was a rite of passage, and you were sent off to make your first kill. Of course, you did not have any trophies, human teeth necklaces, or pelts made of human hair. You had face and body paint, though, and you really had no idea that you would actually need to kill another human. You first came back with a small rabbit and failed your rite of passage. Your father was dishonored and extremely heartbroken. And upon the next moon ritual, you left the camp and traveled the path of the moon as your father instructed. You heard something crying in the darkness, and as you approached it, it was a young and beautiful girl. She was tied and bound to a tree, crying hysterically. You approached her and untied her hands, and she clawed and scratched at your face. You decided not to release her feet just yet. She spoke a slightly different dialect. However, you were able to understand each other. You were able to understand each other. And she was quite traumatized as she knew of the demons who hunted human flesh, such as her own. You made a small camp a few miles away and you moved her the next morning. You did this each night for a week, as you knew your father would be waiting or looking for you. Within that first week, you killed and cooked some small animals so y'all could eat. She slowly began to trust you and you her. Eventually, you made it back to one of the nomadic tribes where you were captured and held prisoner immediately. Once you learned the stories of your own tribe, you started to teach their ways. Eventually, you were accepted as one of them, and you actually helped them become more empowered and less victimized. Now, you may feel like an outsider and or very naive about life in general. You may be drawn to history and learning about different cultural customs. Okay, so the next one, the initials are LMG. Now, this past life regression actually occurred one lifetime ago. Now, in this lifetime, you were born in Ireland on the coast. It was a small community, and there were way more men than women. The ratio was like 10 to 1, so 10 men to 1 woman. You had many suitors and loved your daily routine, which you were a baker by trade and you were a natural cook. Then one day you met a foreigner from Scotland. He made you feel special, alive, pretty, and you fell deeply in love with him. You soon married, more like eloped, because the Irish did not like the Scottish and vice versa. You both were hesitant about announcing the nuptials, but finally you told your family, who were mortified that you would choose an outsider over your Irish brethren. The next thing you know, your home was vandalized and your bakery was burned to the ground. Your husband was viciously attacked and almost killed. Your family started receiving threatening mail. Your husband vanished once he was healed. You remained an outcast in your village until your husband wrote and sent you money to move back to Scotland with him. But you refused to leave your family behind, who at this point in time were not even actually speaking to you. Now you may still feel the love and romance elude you, which it is more heavy with expectations than allowing energy. So you're way out of balance. You have way more expectations of what it should be, what it should look like, what it should feel like, than you are just stepping into that allowing energy and allowing it to unfold organically. All right, so the final past life regression, the initials are JARH. This actually occurred 15 lifetimes ago. In this lifetime, you were born during the Renaissance period. Your mother worked the street and she died from tuberculosis when you were 2 years old. You never knew your father, and you ended up in a Catholic orphanage where you were abused daily until you ran away at the age of 9. You started a local pickpocket scheme, which barely kept you alive. You were very good at it and fast, and you did this for many years. However, there was this magician that you picked his pocket. Well, he caught you. And instead of turning you into the authorities, which would have been severe punishment, now you were 14 years old at this time, he actually offered you a job as his assistant. He was an older man who smelled of whiskey and urine, but you would rather work for him than be reported for thievery at that time. He lived in a damp and musty loft with several other people in the entertainment and artistic fields. You mainly cooked and cleaned for the lot of them, and in your free time you would watch the painters paint on their canvases. Then one day, one of the old artists passed away and left you his art supplies. You were a natural and very gifted with the paintbrushes. You loved to paint. You lived to paint. And the old man started to show and sell your works at his magician shows. You did this for 10 years until he passed away too. Finally, you felt free at last. But by now, news of your talent had spread through London. The king at that time had you arrested and offered you another slave-like position as a court artist. You were given small quarters in the palace. However, you longed to be free, and the only freedom that you had was through painting. Now, you may still feel trapped in your life circumstances, like things happen to you, and there aren't many choices available to you. All right, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And blessings into infinity. Now, the next time I do one of these sessions, I will announce it. So, yes, and then you'll be able to send me emails and request your past life regression too. Blessings into infinity.